After the reveal of episode 9, let's follow the path of the finger all the way through to the end. Lester tells Randall to put the plate of shrimp in Oliver's apartment. The finger is on the tray. Oliver discovers the finger. The podcast trio bring it with them to the Caccimelio house. There, the boys, Nonna, and s5e see the finger. Based on what we know, they want it, but for reasons they don't take it then. The finger then travels back to the Arconia and into Charles's freezer. Then Nonna and the boys steal the finger while Charles is on a date with s5e. Notice one of the boys is still wearing a birthday party hat, showing us, yes, this did happen when Charles was out with s5e. The theft of the finger is erased from the security footage. The finger next turns up in a trophy in Bashsteed's house in Connecticut. The podcast trio then bring the finger back to the Arconia, where Camila White arrives with a gun to claim it back. Why would the Nonna and the boys give the finger back to the billionaires if they weren't working together? Is everyone working together? It is time. Let's solve Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 9, LESTR. Told through the lens of one annoying robot who may hold the keys to more secrets than anyone realized, the Arconia throws one last party as the residents discover that a killer may still be in their building. I'll be breaking down each episode for clues, suspects, and red herrings on the hunt to learn who killed Lester, who killed Nicky the Neck. Stop giving me the finger. Tell me whose finger it is. Spoilers for the first 4 seasons and these first 9 episodes of Season 5 of Only Murders in the Building. If you haven't seen all the episodes, pause this video. Drink some White Claws and get effed up. Watch all these episodes and then come back and watch this video. Use the timestamp below to jump to the topic or subject that you would like to listen to. Skip past things you're not interested in. Friendly reminder that we're also covering Season 5 of the Apple TV show Slow Horses. Boy, the most recent episode had a shocking, audacious ending. If you want to hear us talk about it and break down all the crazy goings on, listen to the Slough House podcast on Slow Horses, wherever you get audio podcasts, or on our YouTube channel. Let's look at the CCE credit clue Easter eggs. Howard's mother is back in the open again, and Lester, those robot eyes in so many windows. I always feel like Lester is watching me. Really creepy. In the closing credits, you see where Charles may move to next, lovely cherry blossom villas. There's the notice that there's only one day until you have to move out of the Arconia. And hey, wow, look at Randall in Cuba. Boy, that looks like a great tourist destination. Oh man, 1 week ago in the video after episode 8, I was talking about how, boy, I hope episode 9 doesn't reveal the killer. I want there to still be mystery. And I love the fact that after episode 9, I'm not saying that Nonna didn't kill everybody, but would she really kill her son-in-law with a meat cleaver? Is she strong enough to do it? Would the boys kill their father that way? So I love that not everything is resolved. We don't know who killed Nicky. Having said all that, boy, it does feel difficult to come up with a logical way for this story to come around and make sense. I'm going to try. We got another reprieve, so I'm going to continue to make my final guess as to who killed these people coming up in the tinfoil hat section. But boy, if it can come together, it'll be great. But it sure feels like there are going to be a lot of dangling threads at the end of this. What do you think? Go down in the comments and tell me. In our new AI technology, LESTR overseers from YouTube, they're telling me that 88% of the viewers are what they call casual viewers, not regular viewers. I need you to subscribe. Let's get that number way up. I appreciate all your comments, your likes. I need subscribers, I need likes, I need comments. If you're on audio podcasts, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, however you listen, and reach out to us on social media at PHQ. That's the word double, single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters. I can't wait to hear from you. I know we're all still focused on who killed Lester in the Season 5 mystery, but I thought I'd ask you, members of the Clue Crew, what kind of mystery do you want in Season 6 and Season 7 and beyond? Who knows how long this show will go? If Season 6 speculation and wish list talk does not interest you, please use the timestamps below and jump to the next topic. Here's my pitch for a future season of Only Murders in the Building. I'm doing it based on Season 4 and Season 5, which those storylines, to me, they've had a split focus of suspects and kind of where the audience should be paying attention. In Season 4, it really felt like there'd be one episode focused on the Westies. Then the next episode would be focused on the Hollywood crew. Then it'd go back to the Westies, and then it'd go back to the Hollywood crew. This season, Season 5, Episode 4 was entirely focused on the billionaires. Then Episode 5 was entirely focused on the Arconia staff. Then in Episode 6, we're entirely focused on the widows. Then back to the billionaires in Episode 7. And this split focus, in my opinion, it has not always served the story and the murder mystery parts very well. So I would propose a change. All these murder mysteries, they all start in the same way. Almost too simplistic formula. At the end of Season 1, Mabel discovers Bunny's body. Now we're in a new mystery. At the beginning of Season 3, yes, Ben Glenroy had already died, but here, the podcast trio discover his dead body in an elevator, and we're gone. At the beginning of Season 4, they discover, hey, Zaz was shot at the end of Season 3. At the end of Season 4, they discover Lester's body. So it's always like they discover a body on its own, and wait, there's been a murder. This murder mystery setup puts the podcast trio in a tough place to start. Either they don't even know the killer. For example, they didn't know who Jan was before they found Tim Kono's body. They didn't know any of the billionaires before they found Lester's body. Or they don't have a reason to suspect Poppy, Cliff, or Marshall, even though they had met them before they realized there was a murder mystery to do. And because the killer could almost be anybody, it feels like they have to explore all the options. My pitch has them know exactly who to suspect from the beginning. So I'd propose the show go to a closed circle mystery. Now, closed circle mysteries, what are they? They're mysteries where it's a restricted environment and a limited number of potential suspects. The classic example of a closed circle mystery is the restricted environment of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. 10 people are on a remote island. There's suddenly a murder. The people look around the island, they realize they're the only people on the island, therefore the killer is one of the 10. It's a closed circle. It has to be one of these people has to be the killer. If the show would do something like this, I think it would have a tighter focus rather than, okay, this week we're on the Westies, next week we're on Hollywood, and the things we're seeing this season. So if the podcast trio knew ahead of time, okay, the killer is one of these blank people because it happened in a closed circle, I think the storylines could be a bit more focused and possibly a bit more fun. So how would I create a closed circle mystery in Only Murders in the Building? My suggestion is based a bit on Agatha Christie's classic novel, A Murder is Announced. In that book, about a dozen people are in a house. There's a blackout suddenly in the house. The room they're in goes completely dark. Suddenly, a gun goes off. By the time they get the lights back on, there's a person dead. The people realize somebody in the house killed this person. So here's my pitch for a future Only Murders season. Imagine Althea throws a party in the penthouse, and this party would have guests of people who live in the Arconia, like the podcast trio, Uma, Howard, etc. Althea's a famous celebrity, so of course the show could have those big celebrities that they like having in every season. So we know all the people in the penthouse. The elevator goes down. So you can't take the elevator down. Nobody can take the elevator up and come into the penthouse. There is a stairwell that leads to and from the penthouse, but it's kind of on an alarm. So if the door's opened, an alarm goes off. The podcast trio discovers a body with a knife in the back. The victim couldn't stab themselves in the back that way. Therefore, it's been a murder, took place in the penthouse. It had to be somebody at this party who did it. And the podcast trio knows everyone at the party. It's a limited number of suspects. Once again, 10 or 12 would be perfect. Therefore, the podcast trio knows who they're investigating immediately. From the jump, the audience knows, okay, it's these people. We don't have to worry about somebody new coming in. Who would I have be the murder victim in this case? Well, a perfect murder victim would be Theo Dimas. Theo Dimas is perfect because they're already characters we know who might have a motive, who the police might suspect of being the killer. Oliver could be a suspect. Maybe Oliver's son Will, maybe Theo. Uma, we know, has stolen from Theo Dimas. Maybe she's a suspect. Teddy is a character we know. He has plenty of skeletons in his closet with all his affairs, with his criminal dealings. And when you add in Teddy's time in the white-collar prison where he could have learned so many secrets, a lot of people may want Teddy dead. he's the perfect victim for a future season. I know I may get some pushback, and they're like, well, the fun about the Westies and Hollywood and the billionaires and the mob and all this stuff is the show can go wide. I still think you can go wide, but in a focused way. And that's what I'm hoping the show does, to kind of give us a tighter focus on these. But hey, that's what I think. Who cares what I think? I want to know what you think. If you're on YouTube, go down in the comments. Tell me what you think of my idea. If you have a better idea, if you're on audio podcast, you know what to do. Reach out to me on social media. You know the handle at PHQ on social media apps. Before we run down the suspects, let's see what episode 9 taught us about the victims. First up, R.I.P. Lester the Doorman. As we talked about in some spoiler sections, Lester was there. Lester saw Lester the robot. He was there with Miller when this thing was unboxed. On the night Lester died, he comes running into the staff room. He tells Randall to take Shrimp up to Oliver's apartment in 10D. Lester has his crank in one hand and his ledger in his other hand. Lester has blood on his bodies. The crank is bloody. Lester says these words, "I didn't mean to hurt anybody. I couldn't let that mobster take down my building. I've been looking the other way too long." Real quickly, note that he says that mobster. He doesn't say Nicky. Could this be implying Sophia as the mobster family? Could it be implying the mayor, even, as if the mayor's in on it, he's a mobster? Randall, who's there, he asks Lester, "Did you kill somebody?" Lester doesn't answer. Lester does say, and I saved the old Arconia with a piece of the old Arconia, life. Couple things to talk through. Lester always wanted to be an actor. Is this Lester as a late bloomer actor? Does he know that Lester, the robot, is recording this and he's acting for the camera? Now, the podcast trio assumed Lester killed Nicky, but they did an autopsy on Nicky. There wasn't one period where they said, oh, look at this bruise and bump on his head from being hit with the elevator crank. There was no wound like that at all. So Lester did not kill Nicky with the elevator crank. So how did he save the old Arconia with a piece of the old Arconia? Did Lester smash Pflug's hand with the elevator crank? So he wasn't killing anybody. Lester was just fighting back against the people who wanted to destroy it. When did Lester lose the ledger? Did he go up and put it in his drawer? This is so tricky. One more thing about Lester. Lester knows about the secret doorway from the velvet room into the secret room up the spiral staircase to the dry cleaners. Why do I assume Lester knew about it? Because Randall knows about it. That's his flip-flop print in the velvet room. Randall took his infamous vacation picture in the secret passageway between the velvet room and the dry cleaners. And as we get to Nicky the Neck, here's a question for you. If the velvet room could be accessed via the dry cleaners, why did they need Lester to work the door at all? Couldn't all the guests have just entered from the dry cleaners? There is white paint on the floor of the secret room, and that matches the paint that was on Nicky the Neck's coat. When the billionaires showed up at Oliver's and they all had their work together story, they said that Nicky was the one who showed up with a cleaver. Nicky was livid and raving about the film Goodfellas. Goodfellas, as the best spoiler warning I can give you, it is about an informant. Take that what you will. Were any of these characters an informant? Was Nicky the Neck an informant, and that's why he was killed? Now let's look at the suspect. I'm looking at LESTR 2.0, even though theoretically, if LESTR 1.0 did it, 1.0 should be blamed, not 2.0. LESTR is frustrated that humans blame him for not talking to each other, but he also gets a bit power hungry. He says, "It's true, my power is unchecked." What's good about LESTR 2.0 is he keeps using the after you phrase that LESTR, the real human being, was fond of using. LESTR looks at Howard and rejects Howard because it's now under Camila White's control for her upcoming casino. LESTR has an alarm that knows when an intruder is in the gaming parlor. Is that new to LESTR 2.0, or did the original LESTR 1.0 have that as well? Doorman Randall had the crank, but when he came back with the crank, he didn't put it in his locker. He claims he put it in the velvet room because he didn't want people to blame LESTR for any death that happened. When confronted about this, Randall does run. He pretends to be gone. He doesn't even tell his mom where he is. He posts that he's in Cuba, even though he's squatting in Dr. Grover Stanley's old place, apartment 6C. I've said all season long, I don't suspect Randall. Do you still suspect Randall? Go down in the comments and tell me. I've never suspected him, so if he's the killer, this is a blind spot. I just couldn't imagine that somebody from old New York, like a doorman, even one who doesn't want to be a doorman, would be the killer. Again, what do you think? Go down in the comments and tell me. The Caccimelio Boys. Look at all the rings on these pinkies of these boys. And I'm calling them boys. Mikey just had his 36th birthday. These are adults. Nonna. Now, everything going as we think it's going. The first time we saw Nonna, she was grinding meat. Is she familiar with a meat cleaver? She has all her fingers, so the finger is not hers. If we can trust Sophia, Nicky the Neck didn't really want to be a mobster, but Nonna made him, pushed him to be this mob boss, and hard as nails. Nonna and the boys break into Charles's apartment. They steal the finger back. But again, it ends up with the billionaires. Why would they give it back to the billionaires? I want to give some credit to members of the Clue crew, and this is great. Right when the first 3 episodes dropped, Helena commented on my first video and my third video. They wrote, "Locking in Nonna." And then to follow that up 5 days ago, Helena 3000 wrote, "Locking in Nonna because she's the one I identified as the killer at the beginning. And I think she's got a lot of motives. She hated her useless, cheating son-in-law. He wanted to sell the family's legacy. And after dying, she wanted to make sure it looked like a mafia hit because she wanted to have people believe Nicky was relevant enough to be eliminated by a rival family." Helena, that is brilliant. I would point out, though, that she stole the finger and then gave it to the billionaires, so it feels like she would want the billionaires to take over the Velvet Room. On that, I'm still a bit confused. After episode 8, Jolie said, "I think it's the grandma. Great job. I'm trying to find the person, I've lost it, who wrote they thought that Nonna's wheelchair made the marks in Charles's apartment. They were right. Camila White, and I'm only bringing her up for a bit of tinfoil right here in the middle. Camila, as we know, she was born to a casino magnate and his former showgirl wife in Reno. That's what we're told. Is it at all possible that this casino magnate started with casinos back in New York City, illegal casinos like the Velvet Room, and that somehow Camila and Sophia are related and sisters? Pflug. Jay and Mabel have apparently chemistry off screen. I'm not sure we've seen it too much, but there is a chance that Mabel, just so lost, would run off to the Maldives to be a boat bitch with Jay. Jay is still not ready to come clean. He's really ready to make murder somebody else's problem. Now, Mabel encourages Jay to make the world a better place by not making it worse. If you like tinfoil hat theories around shot compositions, we've had Jay with devil's horns in a shot at Bash's mansion. We've also have, when Jay comes in, we see Lester the robot with a light bulb over his head, like he just suddenly thought of something. Hey, I recognize that killer. Crazy tinfoil hat stuff. That's why you come to this silly video channel. Vince Fish, back in the blizzard in '96. Vince helped Uma back up. Was that the beginning of a love connection? Bow, chick, bow, bow, bow. Theo Dimas. Teddy is there in the lobby as everybody is getting ready to move out. Teddy is pouring wine for everybody. We know Camila White should be there. She loves wine. He's out of jail. He was in a white-collar clink. He now speaks fluent Italian. And Teddy is still a bit frustrated that Mabel and the podcast trio still turned in a cute family of grave robbers. I mean, they didn't turn in the Westies, did they? Teddy, he's about to leave. He's going to be moving on to Boca, it seems, unless something stops them. Theo is in the episode not even a second, and he's being a true hero, knocking out a running Randall. I hear from people all the time that they want Theo and Mabel as endgame couple. Let me ask you this. Say you were a teenage girl and your best female friend got pushed off a roof accidentally by a guy. Then he kind of helped frame one of your other friends for the crime, and that other friend spent a decade in juvie. Could you fall in love with that person? Miller was there when LESTR showed up. Another point about Miller that I've seen people talking about online, so I'm going to put it up. Who knows what it means? In the Last Supper picture at Oliver's apartment, Miller is seated really where Judas would be seated. Could somebody from old New York like Miller be a Judas in helping the billionaires? He did destroy LESTR 1.0. Did he destroy the robot to hide evidence? Uma is soon to be homeless. She's, for the first time in her life, not happy, and she's looking through people's clothes. Does she still have her klepto ways? Howard Morris. Even after the reprogramming, where Howard is no longer in control, Howard still defends the robot LESTR. As we may have suspected, Jonathan has been out on tour and absence has not made the heart grow fonder. The two have broken up. Howard longs for his youth when he was the center of his mother's world. All his foster cats, nor the cadaver dog, nor Hammy Faye Baker, they aren't filling him with that connection that he needs. Is this exchange between Howard and Charles setting up why Howard has been doing what he's doing, if you believe Howard is the Arconiac Moriarty who's been pulling some strings? Not killing anybody, but certainly pulling strings to make things happen. If you're confused, be sure to check out my video on Season 4, Episode 2, where I lay out all the clues at that point pointing to Howard. Oliver Putnam in apartment 10D. Oliver is lowering his sodium to reduce bloating. On the saddest note, Oliver's going to be moving to New Zealand to be with his wife. It's great that he's with his wife. It's sad that his son Will and his grandson haven't been there to help him pack. Charles Hayden Savage. With all the other characters moving on, Charles is looking for new friends and hobby hunting. What would you do if you were past 80 in the Arconia? Certainly you wouldn't take the stairs. Mabel Mora. Maybe it's just me, but I haven't seen much of a connection between Mabel and Pflug. Okay, it's time for our tinfoil hat theory. Let's get this out of the way right at the top. Kind of like I said last week, all the security cameras are being manipulated in the Arconia. We're told they're from Bash's company. We're told Bash is an IT genius. He has to be doing it. So when I talk about any killer, even if Bash didn't strike the fatal blow, he's in it. He's involved. He should be going to jail. But as you know, Bash isn't alone. The Caccimelio Boys and the Nonna stole the finger from Charles's apartment and gave it back to the billionaires. So they're working with Bash. They all want the same goal. The goal is a casino in New York City, and specifically probably a casino there taking over the Velvet Room, the Arconia. While Nicky may have been killed for having an affair and therefore breaking Sophia's heart, or maybe he was killed because he wouldn't leave Sophia and therefore breaking Camilla's heart. The most likely motive for this is that Nicky was somehow in the way of this casino being built in New York City. He had to be killed. He had to be taken out of the way so this could move forward. That's the goal, getting a casino in New York City. Well, how are you going to get a casino in New York City? You got to buy off the mayor. Let's look at the page that was stuffed in Nicky the Neck's mouth. You see this circle where it says the Cockapoo 4.3 million, the Bowerbird 5.5 million, the Eurasian Jay, it says 6 million. These aren't like debts from a poker game. I bet this is how much they've all paid off Mayor Tillman. And note under brown-headed cowbird, there's no money there. There is no amount listed. Was Nicky not giving the money he was supposed to the mayor to make this casino happen? Or perhaps even more horrific from Nicky's point of view, was he keeping track of all the money being given to the mayor because he was an informant, like in the movie Goodfellas? He was a rat. Either way, Nicky had to die. So who actually stabbed Nicky? Again, the evidence points to Bash and Sophia, at least. Bash because he has freezer burn on his ear. That probably came from the crypto chamber at Bash's house. It points to Camilla because of the white paint. So far through 9 episodes, she's really the only person associated with paint, with her cream coloring and redoing of Oliver's apartment. Why would Camilla kill Nicky besides wanting the casino? Well, because he betrayed her. He wasn't going to go through with the casino idea, even though he met her and told her he would. So how does it all go down? The 3 billionaires and Nicky show up at the Arconia Velvet Room. The mayor's there. It's all about to be signed. Pflug is grabbing a pen, about to sign it. LESTR shows up. He sees what's happening to the Arconia he loves. He slams down the elevator crank, says, no, it can't happen. The billionaires don't listen. Jay is trying to sign his part of the deed and the money. LESTR smashes his hand with the elevator crank, says, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. Blood splurts out over LESTR's elevator crank in his shirt. Everybody is shocked. Nicky the Neck, who we know is a softie at heart, he flips. He says, okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go forward and sign it over. The mayor says, I can't do it if Nicky doesn't agree. Somebody grabs the meat cleaver and cuts off the mayor's finger, saying, listen, this is going to go forward, this is going to happen. It's a complete melee. Lester grabs the mayor's finger, leaves in the melee. He puts it in the shrimp tray, tells Randall to take care of it. He's running off. He wants to alert his wife. Softy Nicky says, okay, this has got to stop. Whoever chopped off the mayor's finger grabs the meat cleaver. It goes deep into Nicky's body. Lester has no idea this has happened behind him. He's happy. He thinks he saved the day. He runs out in the courtyard to tell his wife. He realizes he's being followed. He's on his phone. He's trying to tell his wife, listen, it's Bo Tillman. He's the big bad behind everything. It autocorrects. Lester is killed. The billionaires need that casino. So Bash covers it up. The end. They all did. What do you think? I have been racking my brain to have this make any sort of logical sense based on everything we know. I'm not even sure what I just said makes logical sense based on everything we know. And I do imagine that somehow all the billionaires are involved. They're all going to be hauled off. I wouldn't be surprised if all the Caccimelios get hauled off too. Good riddance. What do you think? Go down in those YouTube comments. Tell me what you think. Who's your killer? Where did I go wrong? This is crazy. Is this going to be another sandwich from the pickle diner that doesn't make a lick of sense? What do you think? Go down in those comments and let me know. Now let's get to your feedback. And this is feedback I got before you had the chance to watch episode 9. So this feedback didn't have the benefit of seeing the most recent episode. Someone with the handle, oh my god, they killed Kenny 007, wrote, I've said this since episode 1, and I'll say it again. s5e is the killer. Mark made a note, Camilla's great-grandmother, who was the aristocrat who was brought by their pioneer husband to Nevada during the gold rush, that great-grandmother is called Evangeline. Theo Dimas had a grandmother, Evangelia, after who he named his Angel Company, the one that those checks were from, Angel. Is that a coincidence? Teddy promised to F up Oliver, so what if he paired with Camilla to finish Oliver off? Whew. J Money gave me this great feedback. A lot of times on Only Murders in the Building, each murderer's name could be linked to either their murder or how they tried to carry out their murders. Jan Bellows from season 1, a bellow is an air pump used to stoke fireplaces, and Jan was going to use the fireplaces to gas everybody in season 1. Season 2 was Poppy, whose real name was Becky Butler. The butler did it. In season 3, you had Donna and Cliff. Belladonna is a poisonous plant, and Cliff is falling off a cliff, or in that case, the elevator shaft. In season 4, the killer was named Marshall, and a marshal is normally someone who handles firearms. And of course, Zaz was shot by a firearm. With that in mind, J Money wrote, I think there are 2 culprits to the murder. They are Bash Steed and J Pflug. Bash is, of course, Lester was bashed on the head, and Pflug is a German word for plow. And of course, that's a sharp blade. What happened to Nicky the neck? He met a very sharp blade. That's J Money's name theory. I like it. A member of the Clue crew named Claire wrote, the Arconia building itself and the communal areas would be owned and managed by a company or an organization. They would be the one that would bring in the robot LESTR. Also, we heard s5e's family owns the actual building, and maybe the finger somehow is related to s5e's connections. A true member of the Clue crew, Link Hogthrob, wrote, this mystery really boils down to being able to remove and edit video. Camilla knew Bash had a plan for a casino, which means he was likely already talking with s5e, whose family owned the Velvet Room. Nicky said that, his wife s5e was with someone and it was pathetic. Currently, s5e is flirting with Charles. Maybe she has a thing for older guys like Bash. The Velvet Room Casino was again her family, and she could go to Bash, who could provide that cash influx, which she mentioned she was hurting for cash earlier in the season. Why would Bash kill Nicky? Well, Link Hogthrob wrote, Bash's motive was to make it harder for Camilla to get a casino in the Velvet Room by taking out her partner, Nicky the Neck. I like that idea. Hey, there's still time to get in your feedback. I always want to hear from you. Who do you think will be the Season 6 murder victim? Who do you want to be the Season 6 murder victim? What do you think about this season's mystery? Give me all your thoughts. Go down in the comments. I want to hear from you. Next week, we're going to be talking about Season 5, Episode 10, The House Always Wins. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. It really does mean a lot. The secret phrase this week is "I could be a boat bitch." Go down in the comments if you've made it this far and leave that message for me. If you could work it into a sentence or your normal comment, I would love that too. Guys, next week we're going to have a super big video, I assume, the final episode with the clue reveal and our setup for season 6. Talk to you next week.